This program is brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?
Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issues. Countries the world over are in competition. They compete to create the conducive environments that will attract industry giants to their shores. They compete in terms of tourism offerings to attract those travelers' dollars. They compete in terms of technological advancements in order to corner core markets, and in a myriad other ways. According to the World Economic Forum, or WEF, in an era where change is the only constant, in the race for global competitiveness, flexibility, innovation, and adaptation to change have become the key ingredients of success. They also note that innovation capability has the lowest performance ranking out of the 12 pillars used in their Global Competitiveness Index. The three best performing economies in terms of innovation, Germany, United States, and Switzerland, are considered statistical outliers. Tonight, however, thanks to the Botswana Innovation Hub Day, we speak to some young Botswana who resuscitate the country's hopes of improving its innovation rankings. What is most intriguing about all their stories is that they have delved into existing cultural knowledge to create new product offerings. We talk to all three this evening. First up is Keletso Dexter Mfinyana, who is looking to mine the country's folklore to produce a unique animation brand, an important step in improving representation and modernizing cultural products.
Stories like that, basically. We're taking the Tamalaka and Malilidiane and we're using those. And the beautiful thing is that there's so much that even we can't explain all the stories by ourselves as a company. Shame Studio would like to have other companies we can work with. And that's what you can expect from us. And games. We're making games as well. Like most kids, I grew up watching cartoons a lot. And the stories, the imagination they put into it, it's always been amazing. So I did marketing, that's my background. And going forward, I realized that I love cartoons so much that it can become a business. So I ended up being able to actually find people who had a similar interest. People who went like, hey, I love cartoons, I love stories. Can we do something about this passion we have? And the bonus is the fact that we're in Botswana, a country rich with culture and history, which has yet to be tapped into. I had to figure out how to turn this into an actual business that people can work with. That wasn't easy. And the way it happened is kind of a bit of a long story. I had a friend who's like, hey, Dexter, let's do animation. I'm like, okay, fine, let's try. But it didn't work out. And then about a year later, my sister and a friend of ours were like, hey, Dexter, why not do animation? I'm like, this is the second time now someone's asking me about this. And we just moved on from there. We were able to find some people in the industry who became a bit like our mentors to go like, if you treat this as a business, do 1, 2, 3, build a team, find the right content, and work consistently with it. So we started by making a cute little clip about two frogs trying to eat a fly. The frog ate his own son. That was a little test, and then we tried to go like, okay, who can we work with? So we started looking for corporate clients while still trying to make our own animated series called Seriti, which we're still producing right now. As our growth, we've actually had clients like Choppies. We rebranded and even created animation shots for Choppies Fried Chicken. And we even actually held events called Animation Explore, where we invited different people from schools like UB, Boto, and Lemko to just talk about animation. The biggest thing has been trying to educate the market to go like, guys, this has value. And not only that, but as far as employment creation is concerned, animation takes people who write, who draw, who use their voices, and who use computers. And then there's the marketing aspects and the legal aspects of animation. It's been difficult. It's been very difficult. In Botswana, cartoons are called dipopai. And if you're talking to a potential investor about dipopai, it loses kind of context. So the value of it has been understanding the business model of it and traveling, meeting different people, especially understanding what the demand is locally and outside. We took a trip to Joburg last year, to Discorp actually, and we met people from China, America, Cartoon Network, who made it very clear to go like, guys, we want African content cartoons. So that was a very, very big boost to us to go like, if we can create the content we need locally with our culture into it, it's a win. Our biggest highs has been the lessons we learn. To be honest, animation is continuous learning. Like most of the people who are in my team are self-taught. I had to learn animation as well, the principles, the softwares, and the win was finding that there's people like people under BIH who linked us up to people from Stanford University. And then not only that, but we also have mentors across the country. We have people who actually go like, guys, as a business model, do this. We have support from writers like Remulo who go like, guys, my story can be animated. So people who've kept us going have been the biggest win locally in Botswana. It's been wonderful.
What is the future of help? It's to help people find the great in themselves. The drive, the passion. Help them find their true potential. Help them stretch. Help them grow. That's why we help people help themselves, help the world, because a little help goes a long, long way. FNB. How...
Welcome back to First Issues as we continue to speak to young innovators who are reworking age-old cultural knowledge into modern solutions and products. Up next is Tlotlo Puduhudu, who has rediscovered and developed a traditional alternative to the use of harmful antibiotics in agriculture. Great news for an increasingly health-conscious populace and burdened governments.
I went into the farm and I realized that a lot of my goats were affected with internal worms. And this was a challenge where at that point in time I couldn't vaccinate and I lost some. So for me, I wanted to come up with a solution that could alleviate internal worms and couldn't be too late for them to be vaccinated or assisted. So I went to my parents and I asked them, how did goats survive in the olden days? Because there were no vaccines, there were no injections. And they told me that even today, you can see animals such as Bopuduhudu are still surviving in the forest and they're relatives to goats. So I went and learned these indigenous trees that they used to feed on. And from there, I incorporated those indigenous trees in the feeds. So we're currently at prototype stage where we're looking for testing and the formulation tests that we would like to go through. We've tried a couple of trees and the exciting part about it, or what I've tried about it, I tried it in my goats and I've actually seen the worms in the feces of the animal. So seeing that was showing me that, oh, it actually works. Even though there was a challenge of how to ration them in the feeds, because sometimes there was a worry, would this still work in the feeds? And seeing that in the feces of the animal showed me that no, the formulation that I made can actually work. And the trees that I'm using, I can't name them out for certain reasons, unfortunately, but we're using different types of trees and looking into other types of trees, because as we go into farmers and try to speak to farmers, you actually find that there are certain farmers who know about these trees. Some are even trying to harvest them for their animals because they see the potential in them. My goals for the immediate future are for the product to be tested. Those are my major goals, for the product to be tested and for the product to be used by farmers, especially in rural areas, because these are areas where you find farmers who don't know how to use these vaccines or don't have much information on how to use injections, and this can be a potential to help them. It's a simple method that they can use in their farms. And also in rural areas, because this has the potential to eradicate poverty and unemployment in rural areas. My long-term goals is to have the product in all regions of Botswana, and also for the company also to promote these rural areas, to have a partnership with farmers, especially who benefit from the ISPAD program, who plow whatever they've plowed, and we can incorporate what they've plowed into our feeds. We are promoting them, we're promoting that growth in agriculture, and also to sell these products to farmers who are looking for simpler ways to reduce costs in their productions. There are a lot of opportunities simply because we don't use any GMOs in our feeds. We use something that's fresh and produced from the farm, and there is a potential in that. I'm so happy because even now we are encouraged to graze our animals, and these are simple things that we use from our farms or from the forests that are natural to the animals and are adaptable to our animals. So for me, it's a great opportunity. And being in Cape Town for the Female in Bioscience competition, I've realized that trends are also going into organic, seeing a lot of companies generating or manufacturing a lot of products going into organic. I was like appreciating the fact that this product has potential, even not only in Botswana, even in other countries in SADC.
And finally, we have Tuduetso Tebapi, who is utilizing the continent's ancient beauty secrets to offer a natural cosmetics brand for the exponentially growing market segment that is vested in the ingredients of the products they use on their bodies.
Nubian Seed is a green beauty manufacturer. It's to say that we manufacture personal care products that are made using raw plant-based ingredients sourced from around the African continent. So, to put it in a nutshell, we try to put Africa in a bottle. We celebrate, or in a cosmetics bottle, if you will. We celebrate the biodiversity that Africa has, as a continent, and try to put it into our range of personal care products, which include stuff for your hair, your face, and your body. It's been an exciting one, a strong learning journey as well. As far as getting, from concept stage to getting on the shelf has been a long journey. I mean, before we started as a PTY Ltd, like a registered business, we were very much a cottage industry company, selling just at farmers markets. People kind of knew, oh, to do and have this product call, and then we'd meet up somewhere and make the product and deliver the product to the customer. Prompted by a growing interest, and also in our interest in wanting to professionalize the business, if you will, that sort of made us start looking for places where we could have our products at. But we're still not at the ultimate place. You still can't walk into a main retail store and walk into and get our products. Right now we're mostly available at boutique stores because there are some, I'll call them hurdles, not challenges, because challenges makes them seem like, oh, it's a war. Yeah, exactly. But it's a hurdle that we need to go over. Things such as, meeting certain regulatory requirements as a natural cosmetics business. Certain standards needs to be met, which in themselves, there it has presented. In fact, just recently I went to our regulator of standards, for example, to investigate about certain standards that I need to get into the grocery stores that you go to every day. And there's a high cost there's a high cost a cost implication to that, just to be able to get my products, stamped and said ready to go into the everyday grocery stores. I will have to have spent a lot of money, which at this time I'm still sort of feeding back into the business to get more stock, raw materials, that kind of stuff. We are self-funded until this point, a year and a half or 2 years into it. So these are sort of things that you find yourself having to make hard decisions, like, okay, in order to grow, we need to spend this, but at the same time, in order to keep breathing and keep living, we don't have to pour into this. So that is a real life current challenge that we're going through towards getting to a mainline store. But it's not a deterrent. I mean, we're in it because we believe in the dream. We are confident in that it is the time for this kind of business to be available, especially why not a locally owned one as well. I mean, Botswana in itself has over 3,000 indigenous plants, Hela, that could be, maybe not all could be used for cosmeceuticals, but certainly this is just to say that the value chain for green beauty, for the green beauty industry, even at the grassroots level, could really start right here at home. So we're eager to be that breakthrough company that is offering cosmetics that can also speak to what it is from growing up.
Welcome back to First Issues, where in this portion of our program, we continue in our mission from the past few weeks to help our viewers become more savvy investors, giving you the skills to better understand and decipher company financials. Our returning guest, Kwabena Antwi, has said in the past that if the story given to you by a company in their annual report does not match up with their financials, seek clarification. And if it is not satisfactory, move your money to a safer and more transparent offering. Last week, he unpacked some of the key terms typically found in a company's income statement. He has said that an income statement typically reveals a company's performance over a period of time, while a balance sheet will reveal a company's financial position at a specific time. Here is what he says you should look out for when reading a balance sheet.
It shows the financial position of a company. That is, it shows how a company is funded and it shows what it has bought. So in terms of, again, let's think of someone who makes furniture. There's obviously a machine, you need tools. These are things that lay there. So in order to get those things, you had to go and get money. So if it's sole proprietor, it'll be in your own cash. That's called equity. It comes from shareholders of a company. If not, you go to a bank or any other funding provider, debt funding. So that will be a loan. So that's debt, right? So usually what people look for is how is the company managing this balance between an equity and debt in terms of funding the assets that are needed to generate revenue. So you look at a debt to equity ratio. How much is your debt divided by your equity? So it depends on the industry, but generally you don't want a high debt to equity ratio. Why is that? Well, to shareholders, you don't actually have to distribute earnings that I talked about in the income statement. If you can foresee that times are going to be bad, you just withhold. You don't have to pay dividends. But with debt, you have to meet your interest payments. So in a sense, it's actually riskier for a company because these are payments that have to be met. So you always monitor that debt to equity ratio. Another ratio people use is called current ratio. So in terms of a breakdown of assets, you have what's called a current asset and a non-current asset. So a current asset means within 1 year, you expect that asset to be utilized. So an easy one is like your inventory. So if you sell furniture, you have invested in furniture, it's there. But you obviously expect to sell it within 1 year. So that is a current asset. Then you have a long-term asset. So that furniture was made by some tools and you don't need to buy them every year. You just need to buy them once and use them for like 5 years. So those are called non-current because they're used over more than 1 year. So same with liabilities. They're like, sure, you can get a short-term loan, for example, that ends within 1 year, or you can get a longer-term loan that ends in over 1 year. So what people look at is this current ratio because they're saying, can your current assets, if you sell them, will you be able to cover your current liabilities? The reason they say that is because each of them are due within 1 year. So that means the risk, just short term, can you fund that? So if it's generally, you look for a ratio that is 1 or above. But this varies per industry. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but 1 is safe because it means once you sell your current assets, you can easily meet your short-term liabilities. So that is a very important ratio as well.
Welcome to yet another installment of our Own Your Day, Own Your Life productivity segment, which teaches the day-to-day habits that eventually result in better overall health. Professor Kiran Bhagat has spent several weeks teaching us the importance of good quality sleep as well as how it can be achieved. Those who struggle to sleep will, however, tell you that it is most likely stress that keeps the mind running late into the night and people's eyes wide open way into the early hours of the morning. The professor begins his in-depth look into this phenomenon by giving us the medical definition of stress, since it is a word that is so frequently and casually thrown around to describe a wide variety of emotions and states of being, although it is a condition that has far more serious implications than most people realize.
There are different types of stress. There's mental stress and there's biological stress. If we talk about the mental stress is a conversion of biological stress. Stress in normal day-to-day life is where a lion is chasing you and you have to run away from that lion, so the body builds up stress chemistry. It builds up chemicals called adrenaline, cortisol or steroids, and these things make you awake, they make you frightened, they make your heart beat faster, they raise your blood pressure, they make you more mindful, you're more focused, you're able to run faster, your muscles are tighter, it releases sugar into the system. So that's the stress biology. But today, we don't have that lion chasing us. The lion that's chasing us is our work. It's our managers, it's our employers, it's our trays which are full of paperwork. And those things are the things that never go away. You can run away from a lion and run up a tree and the lion disappears. But you can't run away from your work. You can't run away from your work schedule. You can't run away, if you run away from the tray of papers, you come back, the tray of papers has doubled. And that's the chemistry that the brain cannot distinguish between that and a lion. So what happens is the biological response to the 21st century stress is the very same chemistry as when we were running away from a lion. So when we measure people who are stressed at work, or marital discord, or financial discord, or work-related discord, we measure the same chemistry in the body. The adrenaline is high, the cortisol is high, the steroids are high, the body's heart rate has gone up, the blood pressure has gone up. But it goes up continuously, it's not gone down. Where the lion has chased you up a tree and the lion goes away, your blood pressure goes down, the chemicals go down. With you, you go back the same day to the same, we always say, different day, same story. So the chemistry continues to rise and remains at a plateau, doesn't go down. And we know that that is what is causing the dysfunction that we see today in the way stress is manifested, where people are tired. People, when they're stressed, are looking for an exit. They're looking for a quick cure. So it's a Coca-Cola, it's some chocolates, it's alcohol, it's tobacco, it's substance abuse. From a biological perspective, what happens is you have continually rising blood pressure. We know that when you're stressed, let's say you're stressed at work, you don't find time to exercise. You don't find time to exercise, you tend to indulge in things that relieve your stress. So you eat chocolates and sweets, you get overweight. You get overweight, you get tired. You get overweight, you develop arthritis, you develop gout, you develop high sugar, you develop cholesterol, you develop blood pressure. You go and see a doctor. And so many of the lifestyle conditions that we've talked about before, diabetes, blood pressure, stroke, heart attack, have their origins in stress. If you identify the things that are causing that stress, start there in terms of managing that stress, because stress often manifests very similar to a heart attack. Your heart races, your blood pressure rises, you feel tired, you get pain in the chest. These are often manifestations of stress, which then ultimately merge with the chronic diseases that we've talked about. So that is really what we're talking about in defining stress.
This program was brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?